All right, welcome back to Crime Time Drive. Tonight we're cracking open.
Cracking open. This woman. Her dad is a serial killer locked up for slicing up 6 teenage girls, and she becomes a shrink, specializing in trauma. Is she trying to get frequent flyer miles on messed up childhoods? Who does that?
It's called processing, or perhaps a deeply flawed coping mechanism which is central to the plot of A Flicker in the Dark by Stacy Willingham. See, context.
Context. The context is Baton Rouge is about to get another round of dead girls because Little Miss Prozac decided playing therapist was a good career move. And Willingham, who cares? The title, A Flicker in the Dark, sounds like my basement fuse box before Cousin Vinny fixed it and set the recycling bin on fire.
It's Willingham, and the title refers to the fleeting nature of memory, the glimmers of truth in trauma.
Oh, spare me the literary lecture. This Chloe Davis character, a psychologist popping pills her fiancé prescribes illegally, mixing them with booze. Honey, that's not processing trauma. That's a Tuesday night for my Aunt Carol. And then one of her patients goes missing. Gets murdered. Boundaries, people. This woman shouldn't be analyzing dreams. She should be in a padded room.
She's an unreliable narrator. It's a trope, yes, but the author uses her instability, her PTSD, to create suspense. Is she genuinely seeing connections to her father's 20 years later? Or is she paranoid? Because let's face it, she's drowning in John Axe and Chardonnay.
She's stupid. That's what she is. Making bafflingly dumb decisions. It's like watching those horror movies where the girl hears a noise in the basement and goes down alone, wearing flip-flops. You just want to scream at the screen. Or the book, in this case. I almost threw it across the room.
Which part? When she suspects the fiancé Daniel, who seems almost too perfect.
Yes, too perfect is always a red flag. Always. Remember Gary, the guy I dated who ironed his socks? Turned out he was stealing garden gnomes. Perfect is creepy. My gut says Daniel's dirty.
Or is it the brother Cooper? Overprotective, hates the fiancé, classic red herring. Or genuinely concerned sibling. The book lays out suspects quite methodically. If you pay attention instead of just reacting.
Pay attention. I'm paying attention to the fact that the cops are useless. Again. Oh, you're the daughter of a notorious serial killer and girls are dying the same way again. Probably just a coincidence, little lady. Have you tried chamomile tea? Ah, it's like every bad cop show ever made.
The procedural inaccuracies were noted by some reviewers. One mentioned cops taking a witness, Chloe, to look at the victim's body. Highly unlikely.
Unlikely. It's laughable. Unless the cops are also popping pills, maybe it's contagious. And don't get me started on the ending.
Ah, the ending. Polarizing, to say the least. Some found the twist brilliant, genuinely shocking. Others, like one reviewer, said it was painfully obvious from page 50. I personally felt the clues were there, subtly laid.
Subtly? Were we reading the same book? It wasn't subtle, it was... Okay, fine, maybe one part surprised me, but the rest... Everyone and his dog was a suspect. That reviewer nailed it. It was a messy pile up. Like, oh, surprise! This random person mentioned in Chapter 2 is also involved. And the mailman. And the dog. It felt the burn of a bad ending. Like another review said. Burned like Vinny's recycling bin.
I disagree. I thought the complexity, while perhaps up towards the end, ultimately tied things together. It explored the long shadow of trauma. One reader called it gripping and disturbing. Another said it sent chills up my spine.
Chills from the bad writing, maybe. That whole, unreliable female narrator drowning her trauma in pills and booze. Thing is so played out. Can we get one female protagonist who deals with her serial killer dad issues by, like, taking up competitive pottery? Or just, going to actual therapy instead of self-medicating with illegally obtained drugs?
It's a valid point about the trope's prevalence, but...
And remember last week, you defended that ridiculous clown bank robber book. This is almost as bad. Almost. At least this one didn't have juggling.
That was a nuanced heist narrative. This is a psychological thriller. It's different. We got a fake email this week, by the way. Dear Crime Time Drive, my neighbor keeps staring at my teapot. Should I be worried? Concerned in Cleveland? See, we make people think.
We make people paranoid, especially if their neighbor read this book. So the big question was justice served you or just served cold and confusing. I say cold and confusing, like finding a single sock in the dryer.
I maintain the resolution, while twist, heavy, provided a form of justice, albeit a dark and complicated one. It fits the tone, It wasn't meant to be neat. It's like that. Folding fitted sheets. Looks good on the shelf. But there's a lot of wrinkles and chaos beneath the folds.
Chaos is right. Okay, verdict time. Let's rate this mess.
Given the psychological depth, the suspense, despite some structural wobbles, I give it 3 out of 5 tainted Albus. It tries hard. Lands some punches, but fumbles others.
3. Are you kidding me? For the sheer annoyance factor of Chloe, the eye-rolling predictability of some parts, and the trope fest, this gets 1 out of 5 empty pill bottles. 1, and maybe half a bottle extra just because the premise was juicy, but no. 1. Final answer. It made me want to prescribe the author some better plot devices.
Agree to disagree violently as usual.
You got it. All right. That's all the time we have for this therapy session gone wrong.
Join us next week on Crime Time Drive when we tackle that book about the killer accountant who uses spreadsheets to plan his murders. Or was it poison tax forms?
Who cares? It'll probably be terrible and you will probably love it. See you next time, crime junkies. Keep your doors locked and your shrink sober.